Hey y'all, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Mogi Beth and I'm a full-time reseller primarily on the Poshmark app, and today we are doing an Ask Us Anything because I have my best friend, my partner in crime, my business partner, my boyfriend of 9 years with me, Matt.
Hello.
And he's coming on because in January he decided to come on full-time with me. So we are now running this business together, and we went on Instagram and asked y'all to ask us questions because as much as I am very business oriented, Matt's definitely super analytical, super numbers oriented, and can provide a different perspective, I think, to these questions that I think is going to be really interesting. I'm really excited to see what he has to say because I get these questions a lot. But without further ado, we are going to answer your questions. Okay, so we're gonna go back and forth in asking each other questions. Am I starting?
Yeah.
Okay. So the first question is, what's your favorite thing about reselling?
My favorite thing about reselling, I think, we've kind of, maybe you've mentioned on your Instagram, I don't know if you did on YouTube, but I was working on some projects on my own, and we've had past ventures together that we've, it's not our first partnership. However, for all of those projects, it always seemed that there was just a few things that may have been kind of out of our control. When we were in Maryland, we were waiting for warehouse space to open up. When I was working with my brother previously, we had some problems with other partners. It always just seemed there's some aspects that we couldn't account for. And the one thing I really appreciate about reselling is that whenever you come across some sort of adversity, the answer always just seems to, well, I can just work harder. If I'm not having sales, well, I can go list more. If I can't list more, then I can go source more. There's always something there's an element of control that you seem to have when it comes to your own business operations. And there's a lot more things that I think that you can account for. So that was something that I kind of appreciate about the reselling business, is that, my own personal anxieties of being in control, I'm able to alleviate a lot of that because, again, a lot of times the answer is just work harder.
Yeah. I think my answer is almost the same, in that because reselling has such low barriers to entry, it's such a great way to learn how to run a business, and it will really help you no matter where your career goes in the future. For me, it's really taught me a lot, and it's still teaching me a lot about like bookkeeping and efficient systems and management, and now I'm working with Matt and trying to learn about leadership and management and delegation, and it's just taught me a lot. It's a low risk way of really becoming an entrepreneur, and there's not a lot of industries in which that's possible, and Matt kind of alluded to that because we've tried to start businesses in other industries and there are just so many more barriers to entry that and so many more obstacles and so much more red tape, whereas
Poshmark is like, do you have a closet with clothes?
Yeah.
Start there.
Yeah, exactly. And if you run out of money, go, knock on your neighbor's door and ask them if they have clothes. Okay, your turn.
Okay. How will you and Matt divide responsibilities in the business? What aspects of your business does he help you with?
So Matt actually started helping me this fall. I've been doing this business 3 years, and for most of it, he was like, I don't want to be involved at all. And that was completely fine. It's my passion, I love doing it. So I was fine kind of having our separate corners, but then this fall he started helping me. So I taught him how to steam, I taught him how to photograph, ship, inventory, everything. But then in January, when we had the discussion of him coming on full time, I wanted to be very clear that I didn't think it would be best for him to just, play a role in the reselling aspect of the business, but to help with longer term projects. And so that's what he's really focusing on now. I mean, he's still in the office every day processing items and stuff, but I really want his role to be more of a working on the website, working on the newsletter, working on any kind of educational products we might put out, working on any type of physical products we might put out, just different things along. And he edits most of the YouTube videos. And so just kind of looking longer term as to what could Mogi Beth be. And that's really exciting to me, and I just don't have the capacity to take on all of that. Is that, yeah?
I think so.
Okay. Do you have a lot of fun working together? I feel like I would love working with my guy.
Yeah, I think it's fun. I like spending time with you in general, and I think I enjoy our time more out of the office. I think maybe some of the frustrations is that sometimes that line gets blurred when you see each other all day at the office, and then you go home and then it's like, okay, like, do we get to spend time now? And then we're like, no, we're both kind of still working, but we're just working next to each other at home. I think that's kind of a bore.
Although I kind of like that a little bit, because before I would come home and still want to work, and he would be like, no, let's spend time together. Now we kind of go home, work, and we're still spending time together, you know?
I don't think we're spending as much time together. We're usually like watching the...
Well, we have something to talk about. Like, we can talk about business and get things done.
Right. What's the least fun thing about working with me?
Oh, ooh, that's a good one. The least fun thing is realizing how much I have to grow in terms of communication. That's hard. It's hard communicating, and it's hard transitioning from being, boyfriend, girlfriend to business partners in a lot of ways, because we're running into disagreements that we've never had before.
Yeah.
And running into issues we've never had before. And I think it's really good, because when we're parents, we're gonna have the same things. And so if we've already navigated that now, it'll be easier then, hopefully. Yeah. What about you? What's your least favorite?
I've already told you this, but maybe I'll give them a little sneak peek behind the scenes. I want to set the scene, and I hope that people are following along. Okay. I like watching movies, and I watch a lot, and this, I feel like, a very cliche scene that happens a lot, and maybe like some futuristic sci-fi or some sort of extraterrestrial beings, and they come to Earth and they infiltrate humans, and they know everything about like human history, and they are well ingrained, and they've read all the encyclopedias, and it's one of those things that like they always get discovered that they're not human by like some cliche like pop reference that hasn't made it into like the archives of humanity.
Right.
So it doesn't register on them. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
And that's like it's like, hello? And like, if you didn't know this reference, like not human, obviously.
Yeah, sure.
This is a long drawn way of saying this is how I feel about Morgan and deadlines. Like, there's the idea
That's not what I was...
that if I was like talking to Morgan, I'd be like, yeah, so the deadline's tomorrow. And like, if she was like a futuristic android, it just would... And you're like, hello, deadline. Deadline. Do you understand what that word means?
Oh my god.
Morgan,
did not think that was where it's going.
And then she'd be like, yeah, what are you talking about? And you're like, I was just talking to you. And you're like, what? Deadline. And it just blank again.
Yeah.
That's how I feel.
I'm really bad with deadlines.
It's hard.
It is hard. It's hard for me too.
It's hard for you. It's so hard for you. God, tell me about your struggles.
Yeah, well, I mean... Yeah, I thought I'm going to revise. I thought bringing on Matt would make my life easier. In some ways it has, but in a lot of ways, it's more work for me, because I'm having to train someone else how to do a bunch of stuff while also trying to get what I'm trying to accomplish done. So I didn't really anticipate that. And I think in the long run, it will be better, but in the short run, I feel like I feel less productive, and I feel less efficient. So, and I hit my deadlines less often. So yeah, I don't know. It's in the long run, it'll be for the best, I think. Okay, is it your turn or my turn?
Okay. Next question is, how has your Posh business been doing recently?
So back in February, I made a video, or the first video I'd ever made of its kind, explaining my sales numbers of the month, and I also called my shot in that video, and I said I wanted to make $10,000 in sales. We're going to next week do a video talking about our sales numbers in March, but spoiler alert, we did not make $10,000 in sales. However, we did improve our profit margin, so that was good, and it actually allowed us to have a more profitable month, but our sales numbers went down. So we're doing okay. The middle 2 weeks of March were really hard. I feel like the last week of March, for whatever reason, it picked up again. Yeah. So maybe I'm hopeful for April, but cautiously optimistic. What about you?
Yeah, no, again, I think I was pleasantly surprised, because I think the calling your whole shot thing came out after like a great early March, and we're like, oh, at this rate, this is gonna be easy.
No, yeah.
Because
before the pandemic, really.
Like, the numbers were doing really well, so we were very optimistic. And then once things started shutting down, we had like a probably 2-week plateau where things kind of stagnated. But then we had a couple big sales at the very end that, again, like you said, upped our profit. even though our sales number was down. So it's nice to see that our margins are going up, but at the same time, you know, how sustainable is that? Or was it a couple of nice items that sold that put us over the top? You know, we'll see. So I think it's been doing pretty well. I thought it could have been a lot worse with the whole pandemic thing.
I thought because I sell a higher average sales price, I was going to be really hurting this month because people are going to be looking for, you know, more discounts and more deals. But what I'm finding, one thing I am finding is that wealthier individuals who would typically be traveling, who would typically be spending money doing things, are now stuck at home, and so they are, I think, buying, like, I'm having a lot of low price sales and a lot of high price sales, and not a lot in the middle. So
I think it was also probably with a lot of your items attracting a higher price point, those people are probably less affected by the pandemic. If they can initially afford that to begin with, then their 9-to-5 job that's probably being shut down or whatever, they weren't the same people. There's a lot less overlap of the spike in unemployment claims and your customer base.
Totally.
But we'll see. There's normally in times like this, in recessions or hopefully not a depression, that there's a shift in allocation of resources where maybe they are looking to go a little bit lower price. We'll see how that shakes out. Or at the same time, there could be influx of people who used to buy your items for retail. Now maybe they want it on discount. So there's always going to be an offset, right? When there are people who are shifting, maybe lowering to another price point or another price range, they're also someone above you, which is your items retail, maybe coming down into your bracket where they want your items on discount at Poshmark. So we'll see how those offset one another, and we'll see.
Okay, for Matt, what are your thoughts on social media for small business?
Appreciate the question. I wish it was a little bit more specific, so I'm going to kind of interpret what you're hoping to hear, and hopefully I'm close. That's a common thing I see a lot because I do edit the YouTube videos, so I'm always on Tom Morgan's studio, and I'm not necessarily moderating the comments, but I see them. And one of the...
I answer them.
One of the things that I'm normally kind of perturbed about... Perturbed? This idea that like you can only hit these numbers if you have a social media presence. And I am like firmly in the camp that, and sometimes we've talked about this, like me starting my own closet and no one knows who I am. Like I feel like you can break this down and make it more of a formulaic approach and like list this many items for this certain price point, sell this much with a certain sell-through rate. Like I feel like you don't need social media to do that. That being said, I feel like, maybe it's kind of hard to quantify because we don't have a good control for it. But, I think like our general qualitative feeling is that the items in your haul tend to sell a little bit faster because maybe it does have that exposure that Morgan, when she does a haul video, people see it and they immediately like it and maybe they go buy it. So there's like maybe a slight uptick in that conversion rate, but not enough that I would say like you need it to be successful. So I don't know if that quite answers your question. Maybe like an in general thing about social media for small business, if it's small business outside of reselling, I would say that my main thing is, a lot of times we're talking about the Pareto principle over here, and that is, 80% of the output comes from 20% of the input. So when it's any type of business, I think it's important not to lose sight of what's actually driving your sales, what's moving your business forward. And, when people get so caught up on social media campaigns, is it coming at the expense of your bread and butter or your meat and potatoes for all your Midwesterners out there? I think it's important to understand that everything has an opportunity cost. So that was one thing I always used to get on Morgan's case, especially when she wanted to shoot all these YouTube videos, years ago. YouTube, and do all this Instagram. And if you've noticed, she hasn't had an Instagram post in a very long time. And it's not because of this, but it was one of those things like we had to make sure we get our systems down and all of our other ducks in a row before we focus on the social media, because we can't magically depend on us going viral and then everyone buying stuff from our closet. I don't think that's how it works. So just being mindful, the opportunity costs associated with shifting your resource, which you're probably your most precious one is time, away from your business in order to work on social media. That's not always the best move. So I think sometimes people get wrapped up in that, and I think it's a poor allocation of their resources.
I mean, I think exactly what you said, because even in March, I wasn't really active on YouTube or Instagram, And you would think if all my sales depended on
be a
social
lot.
media, I would have doubled
Right.
down there. But instead, I pulled back from there, partly because I was really stressed and I really didn't want to project that energy, but also because I really needed to focus on work. Like, reselling is work for me. Social media is more like hopefully a longer term strategy
Right.
and to hopefully leveraging into something down the road. But if you're looking at people like me and people who are on here and thinking that you can't have higher sales without this, I just wish you could see all the people who are achieving way more than us
Yeah.
who don't have social media, because there are a lot of them. So, but I will say it helps.
Was it like called sample buys?
Yeah,
Sample buys?
selection buys.
Selection buys?
Or
One of the biases that basically you only see us or other prominent people because they are on the platforms. But I guarantee there are a bunch of resellers behind the scenes who don't have social media who are crushing it.
Yeah.
You just would never know about them.
Yeah.
So that I think it's sample bias.
Yeah.
Don't crucify me if I'm wrong.
Yeah. But I will say, people who say it doesn't affect sales whatsoever, that's not true either. So if you're going to allocate your time and effort in one place, I don't think social media is a get-rich-quick scheme by any means. It's a lot of work for very little payoff for a long time.
Yeah. All right, next question. Is it hard to have this type of job that is not a 9 to 5? Sometimes Poshmark demands even more work.
Oh, I have to answer this question first. For me, no. I'm more curious about your answer to this question.
I don't know. It's kind of hard because I feel like in general the 9 to 5 maybe is on its way out. I have a lot of friends who are teachers who grade papers at night. I have my mom used to work. She sounded like a day
Yeah.
job, but she's always taking work home. I feel unless you have some sort of like physical labor where you can't work unless you're on the job site. I don't know if this whole 9 to 5 is a thing. Because even like when I coach volleyball, technically it's a lot less hours because it's a practice. But then I come home and I spend all my time planning practices.
Yeah.
So for me, I feel like there's kind of a blur between that already. And I don't think I was deeply affected by it. And I see that you tend to blur the lines yourself, so I don't think you're particularly affected.
Yeah, I don't really believe in, I think I've even written a post about this, and maybe I'll link it down below. But I don't believe in work-life balance. I believe in work-life integration for me, because I really love work. It's a big part of my life, and it's not one that I just sequester to certain hours of the day or certain days of the week. And there are days in which I, focus more on other things, but my work is what gives me purpose in my life. It's what, provides for me in my life. It's what, I'm passionate about. There's a lot within work that, is important in my life. And the fact that we now get to work on it together means that, we get to strengthen our relationship through work. It's just it is very demanding. Like this, I think this is harder than a 9 to 5 for sure.
I don't know. I haven't worked in many 9 to 5s.
Okay, next question. What do you think about people selling their ebooks for $300 plus when all the info is on YouTube, Instagram, etc.? I haven't answered this question, but I want to hear yours.
I don't mind. I think the main value in those things is going to be saving your time. And I think that if you can learn from someone else's mistakes, or they provide this content in an orderly fashion, because that's the thing, is like you've done a lot of great YouTube videos. I've edited them, I've seen them, but if I was someone who maybe wasn't as familiar with your content, like, oh, what was that thing Mogi Beth said? That was really, I like the way she priced it. What was it again? Am I gonna go search through all of your videos to find that one nugget? Like, that would be a huge time sink.
Yeah.
So, if people provide decent value, but the main thing is that it expedites your reselling journey, then I think it's worth monetizing that.
I honestly, it frustrates me so much that within this reselling community, we put down people who put out educational content and charge money for it, because You can learn to do literally anything on YouTube these days. We learned how to build a house. We like tore down a house to the studs and taught ourselves how to put it back together using YouTube. You can, but does that mean like all forms of education are now that you pay for are now pointless? No, like I think it's really important that you pay attention to whom you're learning from, and if you choose to pay for an ebook, choose to pay for a course, which I pay for courses all the time. I recently took a course on Amazon. I'm taking more courses soon because I want to buy them from people who I trust and also have a place where I can go and learn it as quickly as possible. For some reason though, in this reselling industry, we put down people who take time out of their life to create that kind of content and charge money for it. So that frustrates me. But yeah.
I don't think people know how much it takes to create the content. Even just like a simple YouTube video, people don't understand how much time you spend planning it, how much editing goes into it. Because that's the thing, is like, we could give you a YouTube video every day if you want, this like 2-hour long, drawn out, unedited, just like rambling.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, is like,
it would be completely unplanned and I'd just be like, it's kind of like what I do on Instagram Live.
Right.
Which is like.
And that's the thing, is like, I feel like a lot of the comments that, again, I've seen, because I'm not moderating, but I'm observing on top of YouTube, is that people like that you're concise and to the point, and then it's well edited, and then you can cram a lot of information in a short amount of time. That takes a lot of time to do that.
Yeah.
So if you stretch that over hours and hours and hours for a course, I think once people maybe start to empathize a little bit, understand that, then of course you're like, why wouldn't you charge for that?
Yeah. And so I'm gonna say, if you're watching this and you thought about creating a book or doing consulting or doing a course in the reselling world and you feel like you have something to offer, do it. Like, I feel like in this industry we need more of that, and I just want to be your cheerleader and I want to support you in exploring those things, because frankly, like, I made so many mistakes in the beginning, and I could have just really, if I would have had a course, if I would have had a coach, if I would have had an ebook or something, a podcast, I could have really saved myself a lot of errors. Anyway, let's move on. Okay, your turn.
How do you explain to people what you do for a living?
So I say I'm really vague. Like, if it's just someone I don't even know, I just say I own an online retail business, because frankly, I don't want to explain it to them. And then if they ask like, oh, what kind of retail? I say, oh, I sell used and new clothing online. And then usually
They stop asking after that.
Yeah, they're like, okay, cool. They're like, oh, that's so cool. But to my friends and family who know a little bit more, who know I sell on Poshmark and see me doing YouTube and stuff, they like, I don't know, I get a lot of comments like, are you still doing that Poshmark thing? From my closest friends. Like, I mean, everyone refers to it as the Poshmark thing. And that to me is a little bit frustrating, but it is what it is. People don't know what to call this. They don't know the term reselling, and though, you know, some people aren't as supportive as others.
You should just ask their, like, whatever their job is. Are you still doing that cashier thing? Or like whatever.
Yeah, like, are you still doing that? Whatever.
Yeah. I don't want to name a job.
Yeah.
They're gonna feel targeted.
Yeah. Are you still, although, like, it probably would even, are you still doing that consulting thing? Like, that doesn't sound that bad, but for whatever reason, calling it it's not like, are you still doing that business thing? It's that Poshmark thing, which is just frustrating to me.
I just say I help Morgan. What do you do? I help Morgan.
Yeah. Your turn to
No,
ask?
you do.
Oh, okay. Favorite series to binge watch? Have you watched any series recently?
Yeah, the most recent one I actually watched through was probably my favorite, like, binge watching experience. I'm not saying it's my favorite show, but just the experience as a whole I thought was great.
What?
Fleabag.
Oh, Fleabag. That was really good.
I thought it was great. I thought the first season was great as well.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is it? Fleabag.
Okay. Yeah, that was really, really good.
Yeah.
If y'all haven't watched that, maybe you would want to watch it.
I think first season was...
It's kind of risque.
Oh, I mean, the only reservation I had, like, I'm not into, like, self-destructive characters in first season, but I thought it was well done. I thought it was a little bit more nuanced.
Yeah.
But any reservations I had in the first season were completely eradicated. The second season was so well done. It was probably one of my favorite viewing experiences. And if you're talking like binge watching, it was enough in each episode where it was like Game of Thrones. If you were to binge watch that, So it's really hard to slog through hours and hours and hours and really heavy things. That's probably my favorite binge watching experience that I can remember.
Tiger King, all Bachelor seasons available online. Oh my, Love is Blind. All the brainless, mindless reality TV. Love it. Love it. I'm all for it. Let's talk about it. Slide into my DMs. Let's start a conversation about Tiger King. Unpopular opinion, I'm Team Carol. I said it. All right, your turn.
Did you see yourself reselling as a career?
No. Did you?
I feel like this is I feel like you get this question a lot.
Yeah. That's why I want to hear your answer. No, I didn't.
No, I did not see me doing it as a career.
No. Okay, so now we have a bunch of logistical questions that I'm just gonna go off and answer real quick. Is it best to put jeans, dresses, etc. into a specific category or just throw them in none? I think what you're talking about is when you're listing on Poshmark, you first select the category and then you select what type of style within that category. It's best to pick a style if you can, because it's not gonna hurt you. It's only gonna help you. If people further filter with those selections of styles, then yours will pop up. And if you don't pick any certain style, then it'll never pop up when they're further filtering. So yes, pick a style if you can. There are some instances in which literally no style even is close, in which case I'll put none. But yeah, I really wish Poshmark would actually add more styles there in a lot of categories. Okay, next question. What is your strategy for cover photos on Poshmark, stock photos or actual item? So if you go on my Poshmark closet, you'll see a lot of stock photos. For me right now, personally think it's the most efficient, professional looking photo that I can use for my cover photos right now. For me, I've tried a bunch of different strategies for coming up with my own cover photo, and I really cannot find one that is high enough quality, but I can create quickly enough where it makes sense. So I'm not recommending you use stock photos because legally I shouldn't. But yeah, if you go on my Poshmark closet, that's what I use. Okay, Matt had to step out, but I just want to answer these last two questions really quickly. The second and last question is, how do you find stock photos for an item? Will you still buy an item if you cannot find a stock photo? So the reason I will never really show y'all how to find stock photos, I actually have in videos past, and I'll link it up here on the screen, but the reason I won't ever do it again is because technically stock photos are illegal. You're taking another company's image and using it for your own purposes. So I don't feel comfortable recommending or teaching people how to do it, a legal activity. However, I do it. So, you know, take that. I think though it's illegal, companies don't pursue it because in some ways we are helping promote their marketing campaigns and so forth. So yeah, that is why I won't show you how to find stock photos. But will I buy something without a stock photo? I do take that into consideration, because if I can't find a stock photo, it does increase the processing time because I have to edit a cover photo or come up with a cover photo. So definitely is a part of my decision-making process when I'm thrifting. Okay, last question. How do you catalog, track, store inventory? So
I'm gonna say this real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
If you paid for a resource, maybe you could find that immediately. Because that's the thing, is we've already done a video on that. Granted, it's a little bit older.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, is you
It's
didn't
from
know.
September.
You didn't know Morgan did a video on it, but if you had a course and someone says catalog inventory, you can always refer back to that.
Yeah.
That's the value of that resource.
Yeah.
Shout out to all the content creators.
So I would say that I do have a video from September and I'll link it here. I have updated things a little bit since then. A lot of it is still very much the same though. I use less plastic, which is good. However, right now we're in the midst of trying to figure out how to efficiently inventory accessories. So I still have some things to kind of figure out before I make a new updated version. And hopefully when we do reveal our new inventory room, it's gonna be epic. I think it's gonna be really cool because we're growing pretty fast. So with that being said, I think that's all the questions that we got that we wanted to answer. So thank you guys so much for joining us. If you like this series, let me know in the comments down below. We can definitely do more of these. We can do these regularly if you want. But if you haven't already, click the subscribe button, give me a thumbs up, and we're gonna be here more regularly, hopefully, with his help. So thank you so much. Love you guys. We'll see you in the next one. Bye.